I remember walking up and down my driveway thinking, why would God let my dad die? There's so much more he needed to teach me and needed to do with me and show me. Have you ever struggled with your faith or have stopped practicing? And I did that as well. Today I'm going to share with you how God guided me back to Him. I'm Colin, and I grew up in a Catholic household, like many people, but my family stopped practicing when I was going for my confirmation. I'm not exactly sure of like the exact details, but what my parents told me was there was a lot of stuff going on with people at church, and that was kind of the reason why we stopped going. Um, I don't know if I don't know exactly why we didn't just go to a different parish, but as a middle schooler, like that wasn't kind of like a big question for me. I was just like, okay. A year or two later, when my brother and I were at work, we got a call from my mom saying we had to come home. And so my brother, we flew home because if we couldn't be told like what it was, we knew it wasn't good. And when we got home, my mom told us that our dad had passed away on a business trip. I was 15 at the time and summer had just started. It was hard to accept that my dad wouldn't be there to show me how to shave or tie or do things on the house. My brother, he helped out when he could and like showed me different things, but it's just even when you're like a little kid, like 10, and your dad's showing you something, you don't really remember it as if you were like 18 or 20. But I couldn't tell you how many times I've Googled how to tie a tie. I was angry and I didn't understand why God would let my dad pass away when there was still so much he needed to show me. But I remember walking up and down my driveway asking God, like, why would you take him? So the years went on and I was unsure of my faith. We weren't going to church and I had a lot of questions and I wasn't sure. I had gone to college my freshman year and I decided to transfer. And right before the fall semester started, when going for like the fall orientation for transfers, I decided the school I was transferring to was not the right fit. So I changed my mind. I transferred to community college for that fall semester, and then I went to a different school in the spring. And it was where, when I got to that different school for that spring semester, that my life had completely changed. So I met a girl, and she was Catholic, and like we really just hit it off, and we would just talk for hours and hours and hours. And she, had told me she was Catholic, and that got me thinking, and you know, and I had expressed that I grew up Catholic, but wasn't really practicing it. It was after that that I felt a pull to go back to church, and I asked this girl to go to mass with me, and she, like many college kids, uh, wasn't going to mass as regularly as she had previously, but we ended up going to mass more frequently together. But I think she got me back into the faith a little bit, and she credits me with going back to mass more. This girl ended up being my wife, and when I realized that I loved her, and it really made things make sense, right? Like I I understood God's plan a little bit. Like I understood that God put me in that spot to fall in love with her and to bring her into my life. And things might have been different if I was at a different school or like if I hadn't transferred in that fall again. So I think, God can guide us to where he needs us to be. As I've gotten older, my faith has continued to progress and deepen. And one thing that I really take a like one scripture I really hold on to is Genesis 50:20. So in this, Joseph is forgiving his brothers. They've done all this terrible stuff to him. And all this terrible stuff has happened to Joseph. But Joseph tells them like, what you meant for evil, God can make good come from it. So, and that's what I think of a lot when like something bad happens, right? So like God can make some good come out of it. So say you're struggling with something in your life, just think of like where can God make good come from this, right? What can God make good come from this? It may not be tomorrow, it may not be today, could be 5 or 10 years from now, but you know you can kind of see where God is guiding you along the way. Looking back, it's definitely a lot easier looking backwards. Like just looking back in the other parts of my life, I grew much closer to my mom, like through those years, and I did end up like going to that school where I met my wife. So I no longer blame God for my dad's death either. Like I know we have free will, like we make our own choices, and that has a lot to do with it. And I always come back to Job. That's another book that I think about a lot when you talk about why things happen, why evil things happen, or why bad things happen to good people. And there's a point in Job when God is answering Job, and he's like, "Can you explain to me how I created all this? Or how can you explain to me how all this works?" And Job has no idea, right? And I have no idea. So it's like we can trust in God that He knows better than we do. And I think that's a big what just trusting that. That is, and then it's like He knows more than we do. And if you trust in that, we can know He's going to take care of it. He's got a plan. And like I said with Genesis 50:20, like He can make good come from all situations. Now, I'm proud to say that I am confirmed Catholic. My wife and I got married. If my story resonates with you, please subscribe or feel free to share a comment with your story down below. Don't forget to hit the like button and share with someone who you think this might help. They might need to hear that God's got a plan for them and God can make good come from any situation. We just have to trust in God's plan, even if we don't understand it at the time.